Thank you for having me here today, and welcome to the world of Naturama. Naturama is the continuation of the Zoological Museum in Svendborg, which was founded in 1935. Naturama was inaugurated in 2005 and had since been growing. And it appears from this visitor statistics, you can see that since the opening, Naturama has had a positive visitor development. Usually when new attractions open, you can see the effect of novelty with the greatest number of visitors the first years, and then the numbers of visitors will be falling. Naturama's progress has a natural connection with the museum's dissemination concept and the wide range of attractive exhibition and activity offers, combined with a successful communication strategy. Here you see some of our visitors. And indeed, we have a problem. In summer, we have too many visitors. We can't be there. Collections. Museums are all about objects. This is also the case for Naturama. Naturama is a museum subject to the Danish Museum Act, and therefore must comply with a number of requirements as stated in the Act. Collection and preservation of objects of natural historical interest is one of Naturama's obligations, and Naturama's collections contain more than 30,000 objects. To compare, the Natural History Museum in London has more than 70,000 objects, but 75 million objects. Despite that, the collections of Naturama are very important as they contain many unique objects from the past and from a nature which no longer exists. Combined with collections from other natural history museums in Denmark, the Naturama collections form part of a national collection, and thus the national heritage. Large collections, such as from the Natural History Museum in London, are very important in terms of scientific research. In London, they have more than 100 scientists and researchers working on the collections, whereas Naturama has only one curator and one assistant employed. Naturama does not carry out scientific research on the collections, but the collections are accessible to external scientists and others with a serious interest. Nevertheless, the collections of Naturama form a vital and important part of our teaching concept and are also included in our exhibitions. Naturama has created a dissemination concept which leads to increased learning and interest in the natural sciences. Naturama works with ethics and drama of the theater and film world, and a dissemination language has been achieved which is both multimedial and sensuous. The permanent exhibitions of Naturama focuses on wildlife right across Northern Europe and the North Atlantic. The overall aim of our exhibitions is to give visitors to the museum an overwhelming impression of the nature's beauty and a better understanding of the world which the animals and we are part of and inhabit. In addition, Naturama has traditionally one great special exhibition every year. Often it is produced by the employees of Naturama themselves, but from time to time, Naturama also succeeds in getting international traveling exhibitions to Svendborg. Here's one of our special exhibitions, Burning Ice, and here a traveling exhibition from London, Predator. Then I will say something about storytelling. Naturama works with storytelling in the form of dramatized stories, dissemination shows. People have always told stories, not just to entertain each other, but also because we need the stories to convey and understand ourselves. We reflect ourselves, recognize and discover new aspects of ourselves in an attempt to find explanations for our own behavior and a connection to our lives. Naturama tells stories about natural science so that they become interesting for others to hear. In Naturama, we dramatize our stories in dissemination shows. We do this by using music and sounds, films in wide format, light effects, objects and preparation, stand-up, and acting. The stories take place in the middle of the exhibitions, whereby the exhibitions and the many objects and preparations of the exhibitions serve as both scenography and as actors in the shows. Naturama's mediators are on stage and in charge of the museum shows. Naturama's mediators are the entertainers. The mediators must be able to catch and hold the visitors' attention and disseminate and represent in a way that meets Naturama's vision and concept. The museum mediators must add an extra dimension to the experience in Naturama, and Naturama must be able to distinguish ourselves on this. Naturama's mediators are obviously very important, and therefore we work very closely together with scenographers, actors, and directors, and writers, professional storytellers in the development of our mediators. Naturama carry out shows for small and large groups, from groups of 20 to 25 people to hundreds of people at a time. This makes the museum's exhibition space something other than just exhibition space. Naturama shows have meant that the museum's exhibition serves as a mere social learning and experience space, where the visitors are in the middle of the experience. Schools. The dissemination concept we have, it works, which a learning project and subsequently the development of the museum's cooperation with the Danish secondary school shows. In the years 2007 to 2011, Naturama conducted a major learning project involving more than 400 students in 20 classes. This learning project has been very important for Naturama's work with the education sector. The learning project showed that Naturama's dramatized forms of learning have great effect on students' academic competences. The results showed that Naturama's forms of learning enhance the students' professional skills in secondary school and increase their interest in higher education. On the basis of this, it is likely that Naturama helps to increase the proportion of young people choosing science schools, and the crossover frequency to higher education is likely to increase. Since the learning project, Naturama has launched a number of new activities which have been strengthened our cooperation with the secondary school significantly and which make an educational difference for the students. And Naturama annually carries out a wide range of educational difference for the students. We have at the museum more than 8,000 pupils every year coming to Naturama to be part of our activities. Add to this, we have new activities which include out-of-house activities, where Naturama conducts scientific stand-ups to schools across the whole country. In 2012, we carried out 45 out-of-house activities to schools across the country with a total of 13,500 pupils. At the schools, Naturama's mediators perform with another form of learning shows, a kind of stand-up science stories, where the pupils are involved and become actors in the stories. And it works. In addition to very fine evaluations, we can see a growing demand for the museum's activities. At present, bookings are received in a steady stream. Wanting a closer cooperation with the schools, Naturama's mediators operate on the philosophy: what can we do as teachers for you, and not what can we offer you? Naturama's mediators have created a closer dialogue with the teachers in the development of the learning events, establishing sparring in relation to common goals, interdisciplinarity, and in general created a greater openness to Naturama. Currently, Naturama works at creating long-term cooperation with schools across the whole country. So far, we have managed to create a fruitful cooperation with Ørstedskolen in Rudkøbing and with our boarding school for 3 years, and more are coming. And then a little about the strategic leadership at Naturama. In Naturama, we are very conscious all the time of further development of the museum, and we never stand still. This applies to employees, management, and board. The staff of Naturama consists of a strong and efficient team who are prepared to handle even big challenges, as you can see. And all employed are motivated, efficient, flexible, innovative, and deliver very high quality. That's the dream team. Then the awful team. The management of the Naturama consists of a team of 2. The head of the museum, the specialist, who is primarily focusing on organizational development and museum business, developing in attractions and so on. And then we have the operational and financial manager who focuses on daily operation, finance, staffing, technique, alarm, security, etc. This constellation works very well for us. We both have space to think ahead and to develop. It is also a great advantage that we can regularly exchange views on daily tasks and challenges. Finally, we have the board of directors. We have a very strong and active board of directors with a distinctive personality in the forefront. Michael Christiansen, hvis der er nogen, der kender ham, former head of the National Theatre, who has a throughout understanding and knowledge of running a cultural business. The board supports the many activities of the museum and continuously inspires us and sets the stage for new development. Also, strategic leadership is about getting together with strong partners, and that includes a strong community agency, a strong design agency, a university, other attractions and museums, and then of course principal teachers in science, grammar school teachers, and so on. Today, Naturama is a cultural institution in rapid development and very central as cultural engine in the development of the town Svendborg. But Naturama wants to be even stronger and to evolve to become a significant national scientific knowledge and experience center. As part of this work, Naturama and Fjorden Belt in Kerteminde have now been merged, and a cooperation agreement with the Faculty of Science at the University in Odense has been established. As you can see here, Naturama, Fjorden Belt, and the university. And Fjorden Belt is a combined research and experience center. The center's impact knowledge about life below the surface of the sea in the Danish waters. And we have living porpoises and seals. Natural history museums are very much branded towards children. This is also the case with Naturama, which primary visitors are schools, families, and grandparents with grandchildren. A large number of museums experience difficulties in attracting certain group of populations. Likewise for Naturama, which find it to be a bit of a challenge to attract teenagers and young people in the age of 15 to 25 years old. That group of population have often far more important things to do and are often too busy to think of being in search of cultural development and education. However, if the museums have activities and events that the young people can identify themselves to, be a part of, then they are very much interested in visiting our museums. A few years ago, Naturama made a Halloween event where the museum almost blacked out, thus making it the scene of a frightening and fascinating story, told and conducted in relation to the museum objects. So horror stories of vampires were told, as well as strange objects were collected from the storage room to form part of the show. As to attracting the major segment of the population, the 40-plus age group, Naturama did well last year with our interpretation of an exhibition about Karen Blixen. That exhibition was developed in cooperation with the Karen Blixen Museum in Rungsted Lund. Likewise, this year, our exhibition about sound has focused on the major segment, telling stories in relation to the adult segment. The stories in the exhibition have focused on the human being rather than the animals and nature, as we used to base our stories in the exhibition on. So we try continuously to develop that way of telling stories and thereby attracting adults to visit Naturama. We also believe that telling stories for the adults makes natural history exciting for that segment, giving cultural education to the adults too. And finally, it's our ambition that we in the near future will evolve Naturama and Fjorden Belt to become an outstanding Danish museum with expert knowledge in science communication and thereby making a difference in society regarding dissemination of nature and science aspects. Thank you.